Chelsea 2, Tottenham Hotspur 0, Janusz Michallik. Fourth time the sides have met this season. It's been the same result. That's now Chelsea winning all four, scoring 8 and conceding none. What did you make of the game?
Well, I thought it was a game that Chelsea dominated, which I thought when I saw the lineups. I think it was Antonio Conte not wanting to get beat for the fourth time again, even though he knew that Chelsea quality was much better. Look, I think if you're Antonio Conte, you understand that you want to get something out of this game. A point would have been fine for the reasons that I just mentioned, as well as Arsenal losing points, and you want to stay in touch. They've had games in hand. So I think any way he would have come out of Stamford Bridge with something wouldn't have been questioned. But unfortunately, Chelsea played one of their better games, very quick, very physical, very good, took advantage of the chances that they've had, and had most of the players that have been underperforming play at their best. Of course, Hakim Ziyech is one of them.
Yeah, we'll get to the incidents and the goals in the game shortly. What about the way that the sides lined up? Because when you faced each other 3 times already in the season, including twice of late, there's very few surprises that you can do. So no Marcus Alonso, he was on the bench. So he kind of went with a narrow 4. Chelsea, and for Spurs, Sessegnon more advanced, Reguilon not starting. What did you make of the 2 lineups?
Yeah, I didn't understand it. I knew that Antonio Conte was going to do something different, and certainly not his preferred lineup with 4 in the back. But we've seen now with the likes of Doherty, he's used him as a wing back on the left-hand side, which doesn't work. Didn't really work on the right-hand side. In the first 15 minutes, I think he had to be thinking to himself, you know what? It's working. I wanted to take the width away from Chelsea, which to some degree, maybe he did once his Spurs team settled. Because after the first 10, 15 minutes, I thought that Spurs settled in a sense that they frustrated Chelsea. Nothing really more. But yeah, I don't know if changing the entire system was something that in the end, Antonio Conte is going to look back and say, you know what, that was going to do the trick. Didn't work, obviously.
First win in the league for Chelsea since December 26th, and the first defeat in the Premier League for Antonio Conte in the 10 games he's been in charge of. So, before we get to the goals, there was an incident. Now, in commentary, Gary Neville said that wasn't a push. The goal that Harry Kane scored should have stood at half-time. Roy Keane said, nonsense, there's enough of a push. The goal was correctly chalked off. That's one apiece. Do you fancy taking the deciding vote here? Should it or should it not have been disallowed?
It should have been disallowed. It's a foul for me. And I'm not going to get into, how much of a push does it need to be? You just need to look at the situation and say, where was Harry Kane, and how, is it likely that he was ever going to get to that ball if it wasn't for that, right? Thiago Silva was in front of him. And if you watch that, forget now how hard he pushes him. He's actually 2 or 3 yards away. He's reaching for Thiago Silva in the back. This is not just, 2 players, jockeying for positions, and there's a little bit of contact and you have to make a decision. This is a clear decision on the part of Harry Kane to push Thiago Silva in the back, and no chance that should have been a goal.
Okay, into the second half. Now, you and I have commentated on the Eredivisie before. We've seen Hakim Ziyech on many occasions light up that league. It's taken him a while. Are Chelsea now finally seeing what this talented player is capable of? Because his opening goal was stunning.
Yeah, it's been hot and cold. I mean, this doesn't change anything. Today was maybe the best, he's played for Chelsea, or I've seen him play, although he's had some great games, right? He's a player that when it's going his way, his technical ability and the goal that, as I've said, belongs to the museum, right? I mean, it's absolutely wonderful. I don't know if you can score that goal any better, right? I mean, there's no other possibility where you could say, well, that could have been an inch higher or better this way or that way. It's just absolutely beautiful. And, he was involved in the game. You could see that he was feeling it. Every touch was right. Every decision was good. All his set pieces that he was taking were very good. So, yeah, you got to enjoy that. You think that's in him. He's part of the solution, and he's also part of the problem, because, if you look at the 4 or 5 players around Lukaku, you often wonder, what's the best solution? Is it Ziyech? Is it Havertz? Is it, I still don't know that. I still have no answer for Lukaku and what his role on this team is going to be. But for Ziyech, he's going to have to play close to that all the time.
I know you wanted to speak about Lukaku. You've just mentioned him. What do you make of the situation that he's found himself in? How much of it is his doing, and how much of it is his manager's doing?
I think this is, look, I mean, I think we've established the fact that players, bears the responsibility as well. So I don't want to take that away. We saw his frustration with that interview. He's had a talk with Thomas Tuchel. But I think that Thomas Tuchel doesn't know how to get the best out of him. It isn't on Thomas Tuchel. He has to find a way. And the best way is, like today, they've got the 2 goals. Lukaku, to be fair, had a couple of decent chances, right? I mean, there were a couple of crosses. One in the 45 seconds in, had to reach for that from Mason Mount, and then I think late in the first half he had an even better one from a pass from Mason Mount as well. So I don't want to take the responsibility away from him, but they don't play to his strengths. This is not how you play. You spend 100-some million pounds for this player. Everything has got to be surrounded around him. Give him the touches, many touches. Mark, you know that very well, better than everybody could. If you look at Serie A, the way he's played, he wants to be involved in the attack. He wants to be involved in the build-up. He doesn't want every ball to go to feet. He wants that ball to be played into space. He wants to combine with somebody next to him, beneath him, not just every ball going wide. And like today, yes, Ziyech played well. Hudson-Odoi played well, but it's almost as if Lukaku, all you have to do is stand 6, 7, 8 yards out away and put them away. This is not Lukaku. This is not what gives him confidence. He wants touches on the ball. He wants to feel that he's involved. So I think this is just as much on him and maybe even more on Thomas Tuchel. He's got to get it right.
Well, Lukaku didn't get among the goals on this occasion, but Thiago Silva getting goal 2. It was a great delivery. Look, the Spurs fans are going to be frustrated. It was a soft decision to give the free kick for the challenge by Eric Dyer, but it was given. You've still got to defend it. And I struggle to think of another team that get as many goals scored by central defenders as Chelsea. They're such a threat, aren't they?
They certainly are, and that's something that they work on. We've seen that from Rudiger. We've seen that from Thiago Silva as well. And it's experience, it's timing. It's look at that goal again. Delivery first of all has to be there, and let's give credit to Mason Mount, because that was perfect in terms of power on that cross, the way it came. It was a glancing header, and it was tight. I mean, he got in between and ahead of Ben Davies, and I think Davinson Sanchez there. So, this was perfect. I think we've seen that from Thiago Silva. Look, he continues to be a legend, at least in my mind, all the way back to Milan and, of course, at Paris Saint-Germain. He's been now at 3 massive, massive clubs, and no matter where he goes, he delivers. And let's not forget, he's not all that young, if you will, but what a player.
Football's weird, Janusz, in that there's clearly a gulf between Chelsea and Spurs this season. They've played each other 4 times, and Chelsea have won them all, scoring 8 and not conceding any. However, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Spurs could end up above Chelsea, depending on results against other teams. Who's more likely to finish in the top 4 this season for you? Chelsea, who should, or Spurs? Can they find a way to eclipse their London rivals?
Well, I think if they're going to eclipse somebody, it will have to be Arsenal or Manchester United. I think Chelsea will beat her ultimately. And I do understand Chelsea have a couple of extra games right now. So, that's always questionable. But you look at the quality, something that Antonio Conte has mentioned, that this is not even the same level. And that can be easy for Antonio Conte to say. You know him as well as I do, right? To admit like that. And this was, of course, after the cup games as well. And now you've seen a manager and a team that's beaten him this season 4 times, 8 goals scored. Has this ever happened to Antonio Conte? Probably not anywhere, right? So I think he understands that, and Heung-min Son's got to come back. I think Adama Traore, if they do get him, would benefit. Of course, Antonio Conte, who loves to play with, I think he's going to convert him a little bit more to a wing back, a position that he's kind of played all over on that right hand side for Wolves anyway. But in terms of strength and power, Mark, right? You look at Traore and you say to yourself, yeah, that's Conte type of player. So I think they're still in it, but I don't think they're fighting Chelsea for that spot.
No, Chelsea's idea is looking ahead of them and seeing if they can catch Liverpool. But they've got a break from Premier League action right now. And Thomas Tuchel's come out and said these players are, whether it's physically or mentally, they're certainly tired and feeling a little bit of exhaustion. They're going to get a break now. Can they recharge their batteries and have a right good last few months of the season?
Oh, absolutely. They have to. I mean, we've seen, today, I mean, energy levels absolutely different, right? Playing much quicker. I think, after a soft period like they had, a game like this is going to go a long way. And look, I mean, still on the horizon, the cup final against Liverpool at Wembley, right? That's going to make an indication of what may or may not happen for the rest of the season. And of course, still in the Champions League. So, yeah, I don't know if Chelsea's still in it for some big trophies, right? And we'll see at the end of the season.
Let me throw one at you right at the end. Thiago Silva became, with his goal, the oldest scorer in the Premier League since February 2013. Who was that player that Thiago Silva has just managed to eclipse?
Go ahead. You tell me, Mark, because I have zero idea. I'm sure I'll know the moment you tell me.
Ryan Giggs, Manchester United against Queen's Park Rangers. Chelsea get the job done, winning the London derby against Spurs by 2-0 at the Bridge.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.